Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Invader Historical Foundation YouTube channel. I'm Jonathan Claiborne. This video is presented on behalf of the newly created Aviation History Research Network. In this video, I'm going to talk some about the research process in general. When conducting research, most people are aware of the need to look things up and fact-check information. The part that gets somewhat trickier is that not all sources are created equal. Understanding how to rank sources of information based on accuracy and trustworthiness is crucial to conducting good research. Here at the IHF, and within the newly created Aviation History Research Network, we use a four-tiered system as a general guideline. Primary sources are generally considered the most accurate, most reliable sources of data. For aviation research, these types of sources includes things like inventory reports, accident reports, FAA records, military unit records, missing aircrew reports, mission reports, and other documents of a similar nature. Photographs in and of themselves are always considered a primary source, but the accompanying captions are not necessarily a primary source. Secondary sources are considered highly reliable. These could include things like newspaper articles, interviews with pilots and crew, and things like that. Some documentaries may fall into this category if produced by a well-respected company. Tertiary sources are things like books, some YouTube videos like this one, which are published by an authoritative agency, and other documentaries or videos, and so on. Quaternary sources are things like websites, forum posts, blogs, magazine articles, etc. The general idea is that the further down the list you go, the more likely you are to encounter an error. Let's look at some examples. A few days ago, I was talking about landing gear accidents with a friend of mine. He was mentioning that he heard of a case of a plane that was just sitting parked and the landing gear collapsed. The source of that information was the Squadron Signal book, A-26 Invader in Action, number 37. The book contains this photo, and the accompanying caption reads, an A-26C with a collapsed landing gear at Beaumont, April 1945. Gear appears to have failed while the plane was parked, as there is no evidence of props being bent. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Mechanical things like that don't tend to just fail for no reason. I also noted a small amount of dirt piled up in front of the prop blade as though it had been pushed through the ground. Now, when I look up the Aircraft Accident Report, or AAR, for this plane, I find accident report number 45410-530, which details this accident. The report reads, on 10 April 1945, aircraft number 4322509, piloted by Captain Burton L. Beggs, was dispatched from airstrip A-92 on a combat mission. The takeoff was normal and the mission was completed without encountering any enemy action. Upon returning to the parent base, Captain Beggs made a normal entry into the traffic pattern and prepared to land. The final approach was made at 150 miles per hour, and the aircraft touched down in the dirt short of the landing runway by approximately 30 feet, with an indicated airspeed of 130 miles per hour. The touchdown was normal, and the roll up to the end of the runway was smooth, the terrain being in good condition. 50 yards down the runway, the landing flaps were lowered to the full down position and the cowl flaps were opened. Approximately halfway down the runway, normal brakes were applied. 2/3 down the runway, Captain Beggs noticed he was not slowing down as he should be and began applying heavier brakes. Just before reaching the end of the runway, full brakes were applied and the aircraft began skidding on the soft macadam surface. The heat from the sun had caused the macadam to become soft and slippery. The aircraft skidded off the end of the runway, and the right main gear dropped into a hole approximately 2 feet wide by 3 feet long and 2 feet deep, causing the right main gear to buckle. This hole could not be seen by the pilot until he was too near it to turn the aircraft. The report goes on with more crew and witness statements and makes a recommendation to fill the holes or else mark them. I'll do a more in-depth video of this accident later, but the key takeaway here is that the accident report paints a very different picture of what happened than the book's photo caption. So how do we know that this is in fact the same accident? Well, aside from the book's photo very clearly showing the plane's serial number, the accident report also includes a number of photographs, and this photo matches. This illustrates the reason for having a hierarchy of sources. Not all sources are created equal. Photo captions on the internet and in books are one of the most common errors I see. Let's look at a more complex case while I illustrate another point. Just because primary sources are more reliable than other sources does not make them error-free. First, we'll start with a simple example. The sign beside this plane in this photo shows the wrong serial number. Usually the contents of the photo are of the highest accuracy, but in this case it's an error. Here's a close-up of the sign which reads 4335940, but we can see from the inventory records that 4335940 is a Beech C-45F Expediter. The correct serial number is 4435940. Now let's look at the complex case. This one comes from our Aviation History Research Network partner Rick Prucha over at the 416th Bond Group Association. Missing Aircrew Report, or MACR, number 12247, dated 22nd January 1945, shows A26B, serial number 4139428, missing and unaccounted for. The report says that the aircraft and the crew of one, the pilot, were lost on a ferry trip from England bases AAF 582 to A83. The individual deceased personnel files, or IDPFs, can be a source of further information, but we don't yet have the IDPF for Second Lieutenant Elmer F. Bourne. The thing to keep in mind with these reports, however, is that the primary information listed here is details about the individual person. It's a personnel file. The details of the plane are of secondary importance on the IDPF. When we look at the individual aircraft record card, or IARC, for 4139428, the file shows a long history. There's no evidence that this aircraft went overseas or was MIA. There are even entries from as recently as 1950. So here we have two different primary sources, the MACR and the AIRC. They don't seem to agree. So how do we reconcile this? One important thing to keep in mind is what the primary purpose of these records are. The IDPFs, for example, record personnel information. The MACR file records basic information about the mission, the last known details of the crew, and is used for search and rescue crews and/or the missing aircrew database. The AIRCs, on the other hand, are inventory records for the bean counters, and they track where each plane is and what happened to it. The AIRC records for 4139428 are quite lengthy. The records were passed from unit to unit as the plane moved around, and judging by the handwriting and the different typewriter tapes, it looks as though this card was updated at least a dozen different times by multiple users over the years. So we have to ask ourselves, which seems more likely? That this plane went missing, but multiple admin clerks kept updating the plane's record card many times without ever realizing it? Or that this plane was in fact in all of these places, and the number listed on the MACR is wrong? The MACR being the document with the error makes the most sense in this case. We know from other MACR AARC cross-references that there is sometimes a delay when the plane is reported missing on the MACR versus when it was written off in inventory. If the plane was observed crashing or getting shot down, then the ARC is usually updated the same day or the next day. But if the plane's whereabouts are not known, they wait. Sometimes the plane landed at a different airbase due to damage and eventually shows up again. But the MACR for plane 4139213 shows that it was lost on the 18th of March 1945, but the AIRC for that same plane wasn't updated until the 22nd of April 1945, nearly 3 weeks later. Based on this, and based on the common types of errors encountered, I think this Macker mystery is a transcription error. 4139428 should really have been 4139248. 248's IARC record shows that it was sent overseas and that it was written off on the 1st of February 1945, about a week after the Macker was reported. I hope you've enjoyed this look into the research side of things, and it helps demonstrate why primary resources are so crucial for our research. Until next time, thanks for watching.